Hey, good morning, guys. So, today you're going to be doing some work with inferencing. Remember, inferencing is where you take details that an author has provided and you use those details to figure out extra information about the text that the author hasn't just come right out and stated. So, this week, you guys are going to be provided with some short stories and you're going to need to make some inferences based on what you read in those stories. We're going to take a look at the one that I have on the screen right now, and we're going to do that one together. I'm going to go ahead and read it out loud right now for the sake of the video. So, I'm home, Earl shouted as he walked in the door. His wife Gail came bounding down the stairs. She hadn't seen him since he had left to go on his silly fishing trip 2 weeks ago. I missed you, husband. Did you catch anything? Gail reluctantly asked, knowing that Earl was not a very good fisherman. Earl scratched his head and responded, "You're not going to believe what I'm bringing home." Earl unzipped a cooler and pulled out several perfectly filleted salmon steaks. "Wow, Earl, I didn't know that you could fillet a fish like that." Earl looked around the room a little bit and scratched his head. Uh, yeah, Jeff taught me how." Gail looked at him suspiciously. "Well, let me help you unpack." As Gail was helping Earl unpack his truck, she found a receipt from the grocery store. It was dated from that morning. What she saw was both disappointing and unsurprising. That brings us to the first question right here. What did Gail find on the receipt? Well, when I try and infer what she found on the receipt, I come to the conclusion that she found proof that Earl purchased the steaks at the grocery store. So I'm going to go ahead and make a text box. I'm going to type that in, making sure that I restate an answer. We always want to follow even the start of that race strategy, even if you're not expected to follow it the full way through. Text box disappears. Click that pop up. So on the receipt, Gail found proof that Earl had purchased the salmon at the grocery store. And that fits well, so I'm not going to adjust the text size. But in the next box, I'm going to need to type a little bit smaller. So I'm going to use this menu right up here to adjust the font size. So the next question asks, how do you know this? Make another text box. I'm ready to respond. Again, I'm going to use the first part of the race strategy and restate while answering. So I'm going to say, I know this because the author says that what Gail found was both disappointing and unsurprising, while at the same time mentioning earlier in the story how Gail had reluctantly asked, "Did you catch anything?" because she knew that Earl was not a very good fisherman. So I went and typed out the answer that I had discussed while I was on a pause break. And as you can see, my text kind of bleeds over into the next question a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and tidy things up a little bit. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to come up to the font size menu. I'm going to change it to 14. I'm going to fit it neatly into the box. You might need to change it to a different size depending on what you type, but that's how you will make it fit. Anyways, so then I'm going to move on to number 5. Why was Gail disappointed and unsurprised with what she saw? And since that bar is a little bit too small to write on, I'm going to make the text box below it and just kind of neatly fit my answer in right there. We just kind of have to make do with what's at our disposal when we're doing digital assignments. So why was Gail disappointed and unsurprised with what she saw? Personally, I think that Gail was disappointed and unsurprised with what she saw because she is aware that Earl is not a very good fisherman. And so it would make sense that he purchased the salmon that he came home with. So the final part of the question asks us, how do you know this? I know this because Gail knows Earl is a bad fisherman. So when Earl has a large haul of salmon and Gail finds a receipt for that same salmon, she is disappointed that it isn't his own catch and unsurprised that he had to purchase it from a store instead. Shift that up a little bit so that it fits cleanly. And that's how you're completing this assignment today. You're just going to answer the questions. You're going to use the text box feature on Cami. You're going to make sure that you're referring back to the short stories and that you're citing specific information from the text when you're making these inferences. Remember that an inference is something that you figure out about a story, but it's not something that's stated directly by the author. But you need to use information that the author has provided in the story when forming these inferences on your own. I hope this helps give you guys some explanation about how you're completing your assignment today. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop by my office hours, which are now from 1:30 to 2, and I'd be happy to help you to the best of my ability. Have a great day, everyone. Talk to you soon.